Good morning, students. So, in yesterday class, we discussed regarding classification and nomenclature of ethers. So, in today's class, we'll discuss regarding preparation methods and properties of ethers. So, just there are three preparation methods and three types of properties only. Let us see the first one: acidic dehydration of alcohols. See, if you take ethyl alcohol, C2H5OH. So, from 2 moles of ethyl alcohol, if we eliminate one water molecule, then we can get C2H5OC2H5 plus H2O. So, removal of water molecule from 2 moles of ethyl alcohol gives diethyl ether. And now here, the reaction is catalyzed by H2SO4. So, in the presence of concentrated H2SO4 here. So, in the presence of concentrated H2SO4 at a temperature of 140 degrees Celsius, temperature is must here. Because same alcohol with H2SO4 at different temperatures can give different products. So, acidic dehydration of ethyl alcohol in the presence of concentrated H2SO4 at 140 degrees Celsius gives diethyl ether. So then here how the reaction takes place. Let us see the mechanism I will show here. So this mechanism is not required for PUC examination. So if you take ethyl alcohol C2H5OH. First ethyl alcohol undergo protonation, means sulfuric acid donates a proton to ethyl alcohol. Then we can get a protonated alcohol, which is nothing but C2H5OH2 plus. This is protonated ethyl alcohol. Now, step 2. Now, this protonated ethyl alcohol is attacked by another alcohol molecule. This is nothing but CH3, CH2, OH2 plus, complete structure, if you write. And this will be attacked by another ethyl alcohol molecule. Now, this ethyl alcohol oxygen contains a lone pair of electron. This oxygen donates electron pair to this carbon. As a result, this electron pair is gained by oxygen. O plus becomes O and water molecule get separate. If water molecule gets separate, then what you get here? CH3, CH2, OH plus, C2H5. Nothing but protonated ether we got here. Next, step 3. In the next step, from this compound, what is formed here? CH3, CH2, OH plus, CH2, CH3. Now, this OH electron pair is gained by oxygen and H plus gets separates. H plus gets separate. The remaining is nothing but CH3, CH2, OCH2, CH3. Nothing but a diethyl ether is formed as the product. Okay, so this is the mechanism for this reaction. So here the reaction takes place by SN2 mechanism. Okay, first it undergo protonation and this will be attacked by another alcohol molecule. This is the slow step here. This is the rate determining step. So this follows SN2 mechanism. Protonation followed by nucleophilic attack of ethyl alcohol on protonated alcohol. Then we can get protonated ether with the loss of water. And from the protonated ether on loss of proton, we can get a diethyl ether. Here with oxygen contains 2 lone pairs of electrons. So this is the mechanism for this reaction. Okay. So this mechanism is not compulsory for PUC examination. How the product is obtained, this is the mechanism. Okay. Right. Now see here. So dehydration of alcohols with the concentrated H2SO4 at 140 degrees Celsius gives diethyl ether. But this process is having some limitations. What the limitations of this process? So this process is applicable only for preparation of symmetrical ethers only. Symmetrical ethers only can be prepared by this process. Unsymmetrical ethers cannot be prepared in pure state. Suppose if the same reaction is carried out by taking a methyl alcohol 1 mole and ethyl alcohol another mole in the presence of same H2SO4, concentrated H2SO4 at a temperature of 140 degrees Celsius. Then what is the product formed here? Here three different products are possible. Suppose that two methyl alcohol molecules undergo dehydration. Then what you will get here? CH3OCH3 dimethyl ether you can get. If 2 moles of ethyl alcohol undergo dehydration like this, then the product is C2H5OC2H5. So we can get a diethyl ether as the product. Suppose 1 mole of methyl alcohol and 1 mole of ethyl alcohol undergo dehydration. Then what will you get here now? CH3OC2H5. So methyl ethyl ether. So here we got three different products: dimethyl ether, diethyl ether, ethyl methyl ether. Now to separate these three components, means mixture of these three components, it is difficult. Why? Because the difference between the boiling points of these three is less. A small difference will be there. Hence, the separation of these compounds from the mixture is difficult. So, this method is not suitable for the preparation of unsymmetrical ethers. Because in the preparation of unsymmetrical ethers, instead of getting a single product, we got here three different products. If you take two different alcohols. So, for that reason, this method is not suitable for the preparation of unsymmetrical ethers. This is used for the preparation of symmetrical ethers only. Okay, right. Now, one more. Same catalytic dehydration. Catalytic dehydration. Same process will be carried out by using a catalyst. Nothing but 2 moles of ethyl alcohol C2H5OH. So when this is treated with anhydrous Al2O3 at a temperature of 250 degrees Celsius, then we can get ethyl ether C2H5OC2H5 plus water, and this water will be absorbed by this anhydrous Al2O3. So this is called as catalytic dehydration. So either acidic dehydration of alcohols or by catalytic dehydration of alcohols, we will prepare symmetrical ethers in pure state. In the preparation of unsymmetrical ethers, instead of getting a single product, here we will get the mixture of ethers whose separation becomes difficult because of small difference in their boiling points. Okay, so this is regarding the first preparation method of ethers. Nothing but a dehydration of alcohols in the presence of H2SO4 or in the presence of a catalyst. Okay. Now come to the second method of preparation of ether. Nothing but a Williamson's ether synthesis. Let us see now the second preparation method of ethers, which is nothing but Williamson's ether synthesis. And regarding this Williamson's ether synthesis, already we discussed in the chapter haloalkanes also. Right. What is this Williamson's ether synthesis? Haloalkanes react with sodium alkoxide. Haloalkanes react, this is R-O- and Na plus, sodium salt of alcohol, this is sodium alkoxide. So haloalkanes react with sodium alkoxide and gives ether ROR- plus NaX. And this reaction is known as Williamson's ether synthesis. Haloalkanes react with the sodium alkoxide and gives ether. This reaction is known as Williamson's ether synthesis. Right. Now, so here both R and R dash may be same or may be different. So by this method, we can produce symmetrical ethers as well as unsymmetrical ethers also. Both symmetrical and unsymmetrical ethers can be prepared in pure state by this method. Right. But here two different groups are there. What should be the nature of alkyl groups in these two compounds? This is an important preparation. So this alkyl group in haloalkane must be smaller primary or secondary. This should be larger. So this alkyl group in the haloalkane must be smaller primary or secondary. It should not be tertiary. You should not take tertiary haloalkane. If you take tertiary haloalkane, instead of getting ether, we will get alkene as the product. So in haloalkane, alkyl group must be smaller primary or secondary, whereas this alkoxide alkyl group must be larger than compared to this. This should be larger for the better result of production of ether. Now let us see an example. CH3 methyl iodide plus C2H5ONA. Methyl iodide react with sodium ethoxide to give ethyl methyl ether C2H5OCH3 plus NaI. Okay, methyl iodide react with the sodium ethoxide to give ethyl methyl ether. This is an example. So here I have taken a smaller primary alkyl group and larger alkyl group in alkoxide. Suppose instead of taking a primary here, even secondary also will not give pure product here. It should be smaller primary. Suppose, let us here, I will take a secondary alkyl group, alkyl, CH3. This is isopropyl iodide plus C2H5 or CH3ONA. CH3ONA. Then what should be the product formed here? If the haloalkane is a secondary or tertiary, suppose what we have taken here is a secondary. If you have taken secondary haloalkane, then we can get a substituted product as well as eliminated product. Both you will get here. Substitution and elimination both takes place. Now come to the first equation. Here this reaction takes place according to SN2 mechanism. What the reaction that takes place here is, this C2H5O minus attacks this carbon and replaces this I minus. Here the reaction takes place by SN2 mechanism. Now here when this methoxide attacks this haloalkane, so this methoxide is a strong base, it favors elimination. So here instead of getting a substitution product, we will get elimination product as predominantly. That means here we can get CH3, CH double bond, CH2. This is elimination product, as well as the substitution product CH3, CH3, CHO, CH3. Both elimination as well as substitution takes place. So this methoxide acts as a strong base, so it can dehydrohalogenate this haloalkane. At the same time, substitution also takes place. So if you have taken a secondary alkyl group in haloalkane, is along with the substitution product, we should also get elimination product. Alkene plus ether mixture will be formed. So in the preparation of ethers by this reaction, among these two alkyl groups, haloalkane should contain a smaller primary alkyl group. If a secondary or tertiary alkyl groups are present, instead of substitution, elimination product will be formed as the major product. If haloalkane undergo elimination, we can get alkene. Now among these two, alkene will be formed as the major product and ether will be formed as the minor product. Suppose instead of taking a tertiary secondary haloalkane, if you have taken tertiary haloalkanes here, see CH3, CH3, CH3I plus CH3ONA. Suppose like this, if you have taken tertiary haloalkane, this OCH3 can act as a strong base, and this I minus will separate. First it forms a carbocation. Now from that carbocation, the CH3O minus removes H plus. Then we can get alkene as the product. CH3C, CH3 double bond CH2. Alkene will be formed as the major product plus CH3OH plus NaI. These are the products formed here. So if a secondary or tertiary haloalkane is taken in Williamson-Sather synthesis, instead of getting ether as the major product, we will get alkene as the major product. So for better results, haloalkane should contain a smaller primary alkyl group. If a haloalkane contains a secondary or tertiary alkyl halide group, then instead of substitution, we will get elimination product as the predominant product. Now here, this reaction takes place by E1 mechanism. Elimination E1 mechanism, the reaction takes place. Okay. So haloalkane should contain a smaller primary alkyl group. Alkoxide should contain a larger group. Suppose if you want to prepare a if you want to prepare an ether with a tertiary alkyl group, then which reactants we should take here? So for the preparation of an ether with a tertiary alkyl group, we should not take tertiary haloalkane. We should take a tertiary alkoxide. Now see the reaction. CH3, 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 ONA plus CH3, Cl. Now this is a tertiary butoxide ion. Tertiary butoxide ion cannot act as a strong base here. Now this reaction takes place according to SN2 mechanism. This tertiary butoxide ion attacks this carbon and replaces this Cl minus. This will attack here and this is gained by this. Na plus and Cl minus combine to form NaCl plus NaCl. So in the preparation of ethers containing tertiary alkyl group, we should take a tertiary butoxide and a smaller haloalkane. Instead of tertiary butoxide and methyl halide, if you have taken tertiary halide and sodium methoxide, then instead of getting ether, we can get elimination product. So in the preparation of unsymmetrical ethers, haloalkane should contain a smaller alkyl group. Alkoxide should contain a larger alkyl group. Instead of that, if you take opposite, haloalkane contains larger alkyl group, which is secondary or tertiary, and alkoxide contains a smaller alkyl group, then this alkoxide can act as a strong base and it dehydrohallucinate this haloalkane to give a alkene as the major product, not ether. So for better results in the preparation of ethers, that is unsymmetrical ethers, by this method, haloalkane should be smaller and alkoxide should be larger. Then we can get ether. Otherwise, if you take opposite, instead of getting ether, we will get alkene as the major product by elimination process. Okay. Now let us see one more example. So in the preparation of ethers which contains a secondary or tertiary alkyl groups, alkoxide should contain a secondary or tertiary group, haloalkane should be primary group. Then how to prepare aromatic ethers? I want to prepare an ether with a aryl group. See here, two possibilities I'll take here. Chlorobenzene is allowed to react with CH3ONA. And one more possibility I'll take. ONA plus CH3Cl. Now, out of these two methods, in which method we can prepare a aromatic ether? Nothing but C6H5OCH3. So where we can get C6H5CHOCH3 among these two? Plus NaCl plus NaCl. Now, which is the better method? Now, if we take a first case, in first case, aromatic ether cannot be prepared. So, in the preparation of aromatic ethers, we should not take aryl halides. From aryl halides, we will not prepare aromatic ethers. So, this method is not the preferred one. Why this method is not preferred one? See, in aromatic haloalkanes, that is, we take aryl halide. This chlorine contains 3 lone pairs of electrons, which is in conjugation with this pi bond. This lone pair is delocalized towards benzene ring. As a result, here CCl bond has a partial double bond character. Now see, due to delocalization of lone pair on chlorine, CCl bond in haloarine has partial double bond character. To break this double bond, more energy is required. That's why in the preparation of aromatic ethers, haloalkane should not be taken because of resonance effect. CCl bond has double bond character, which is difficult to break. So here these products will not be found by this process. So for the preparation of aryl ethers, we should take a phenoxide, sodium phenate plus methyl chloride, CH3Cl. So if you take a CH3Cl, in CH3Cl, carbon undergo sp3 hybridization, CsP3Cl bond is there. Whereas in case of haloarine, CsP2Cl bond is there. Here bond length is more, here bond length is less. Since bond length is less, bond enthalpy more. Here bond enthalpy is less, we can break this bond easily. That's why in the preparation of, this is OCH3. So in the preparation of aromatic ethers, that is aryl ethers, we should take a sodium phenate and haloalkane. We should not take haloarine and sodium alkoxide, because in haloarines, due to plus R effect of this halogen, CCl bond has a partial double bond character, which is difficult to break. So ether cannot be produced by this process. So this is the better method. So in the preparation of unsymmetrical, for preparation of symmetrical ethers, no conditions are required. Any alcohol you can take. So in the preparation of unsymmetrical ethers, haloalkane should contain a smaller alkyl group, which should be primary. Alkoxide should contain a larger alkyl group, which may be primary, secondary, or tertiary. Suppose by taking secondary or tertiary haloalkanes, if we carry out Williamson's ether synthesis, instead of getting a substitution product, we will get elimination product as predominant and use alkenes. And in the preparation of aryl ethers, sodium phenate should be allowed to react with a haloalkane. If a sodium alkoxide is allowed to react with a haloarine, the product will not be formed because of the partial double bond character of CCl bond by resonance effect. So this is regarding preparation of ethers by Williamson's ether synthesis. Smaller alkyl halide, larger alkoxide. Alkyl halide should be primary, alkoxide may be primary, secondary, or tertiary, or even sodium phenate for the preparation of aromatic ethers. Right. This is regarding a second preparation method. So in one more way, from haloalkanes also we can produce. From haloalkanes, when haloalkane is allowed to react with a dry silver oxide, when haloalkanes are allowed to react with the dry silver oxide, then here AgX gets separates and we can get R single bond R plus, ROR plus 2AgX. Silver halide will be formed. Haloalkanes on reaction with the dry silver oxide, then we can get ether. Now Take an example for the same. 2 moles of ethyl iodide is allowed to react with silver oxide. Then here silver combines with iodine and silver iodide gets separates, and we can get C2H5O C2H5 plus 2 moles of AgI. This is another preparation method. So ethers are produced by the reaction of haloalkanes with the dry silver oxide. This is another preparation method. So these are some preparation methods for ethers, both symmetrical as well as unsymmetrical ethers. Right. Now, come to the properties of ethers. See, what is the physical state of ethers? The lower members, nothing but CH3OCH3 dimethyl ether, CH3OC2H5. So these exist as gases. Dimethyl ether, methyl ethyl ether are gases. The remaining higher members exist as liquids. This is the physical state. Next, color. So these ethers are colorless liquids, and these are volatile in nature. Come to the boiling point. So boiling point of ethers is less than the corresponding alcohols. If you take an alcohol and ether with the same molecular formula, let us take an example, C2H5OH, CH3CH2OH, ethyl alcohol, and the isomer of this compound is CH3OCH3. So both are having same molecular formula C2H6O. Now among these two, ethyl alcohol possesses a high boiling point, whereas a dimethyl ether possesses low boiling point. The reason is, in ethyl alcohol, there exists a hydrogen bonding between two alcohol molecules, whereas in case of ethers, there exist only dipole-dipole forces. So the attractive forces between two ether molecules is less than compared to alcohol molecules. In alcohol molecules, hydrogen bonds exist between two alcohol molecules, whereas in ethers, there exists a dipole-dipole forces only. That's why the boiling point of ethers is less than compared to boiling point of the corresponding isomeric alcohols. Right. So due to weak van der Waals forces, the boiling point of ethers is less and they are more volatile in nature. This is regarding boiling point. What about solubility? So these ethers are partially soluble in water, but readily soluble in organic solvents. Why ethers are partially soluble in water, and what is the reason for the solubility of ether in water? See, the solubility of ether in water is due to the formation of hydrogen bonds, but that hydrogen bonding tendency by the ethers is less. So this is an ether. So if you take ether, see the structure here. In ether, the central atom oxygen undergo sp3 hybridization, which contains 2 bond pairs and 2 lone pairs, and the shape is angular. And bond angle depends on the size of this alkyl group. It is in the range of approximately 110 degrees, not exactly same for all. Depending on the size of this alkyl group, the bond angle depends. Okay. Now, so this ether have a bend shape, and this ether molecules can form hydrogen bonds with water molecule. This is like this. This is the formation of hydrogen. Here the hydrogen bond is formed, and here the hydrogen bond is formed. This is the formation of hydrogen bond between ethers and water. So due to the formation of this hydrogen bonding with water, they are partially soluble. But because of this alkyl groups, these alkyl groups are water repelling group, tendency to form hydrogen bond is less. That's why these are partially soluble in water, but readily soluble in organic solvents like carbon disulfide, carbon tetrachloride, benzene, like that. So this is regarding some physical properties of ethers. Lower members are gases, higher members are liquids. and these possess low boiling points than compared to corresponding isomeric alcohols because of dipole-dipole forces, whereas alcohols contains hydrogen bonds. And these are partially soluble in water. The partial solubility of ether in water is due to the formation of hydrogen bonds. Right. This is regarding physical properties. Now come to the chemical properties of ethers. Just two types of chemical properties are shown by ethers. Let's see what those are. First one, a reaction with HI. And here, ethers are less reactive. Ethers are chemically less reactive because as it does not contain any active functional group. Functional group is there, but there is not much reactive. That's why under normal conditions, ethers cannot react with either acids or bases or oxidizing agents or reducing agents. With most of the acids and bases, oxidizing, reducing agents, ethers cannot react because of its less reactivity due to the absence of active functional group. Functional group is present but not more reactive. Now it is an example here. A reaction with a hydrogen iodide. Here under two different conditions we can take. First one, hot concentrated HI. And second condition is cold dilute HI. So when ethers are allowed to react with hot concentrated HI, see now, this is the general formula ROR, ether. So when this is allowed to react with HI, so what will happen here is, first this react with HI to give 1 mole of alcohol plus 1 mole of iodide. And this alcohol what is formed here, this can further react with hydrogen iodide and gives alkyl iodide plus water. The overall is nothing but, so when ether is allowed to react with the 2 moles of HI, first 1 mole react to give this and then 1 more mole react with this. Okay, so ether on reaction with HI, that is with 2 moles of HI. Ether react with 2 moles of HI under hot concentrated conditions and we can get 2 moles of alkyl iodide plus water. This is. So ether react with hot concentrated HI and gives 2 moles of alkyl iodide. Let us take an example for this. C2H5O C2H5. When allowed to react with the concentrated HI, 2 moles of HI, then we can get 2 moles of ethyl iodide C2H5I plus water. So diethyl ether react with the hot concentrated HI and gives ethyl iodide. This is a hot concentrated HI. This is a symmetrical ether. Now instead of a symmetrical ether, if you take an unsymmetrical ether, for example, I'll take a CH3O C2H5, then also same type of reaction takes place, react with 2 moles of HI and then methyl group can form methyl iodide and ethyl group can form ethyl iodide. 2 different moles are formed plus 1 mole of water. Either the ether may be symmetrical or unsymmetrical. When ethers are allowed to react with a hot concentrated HI, then we can get 2 moles of haloalkane plus water. So this is regarding a reaction of ethers with a hot concentrated HI. So 1 mole ether can give 2 moles of haloalkane plus water. Right. Now come to the second one. Reaction with cold dilute HI. Then what are the products formed here? Right. Now, so when ethers are allowed to react with a cold dilute HI, ROR, plus Hi. Here only 1 mole of Hi will participate. Then the cleavage of this OR bond takes place and gives 1 mole of alkyl iodide and 1 mole of alcohol. This is. Suppose if it is an unsymmetrical ether, ROR dash plus Hi gives Ri plus R dash OH. So both are different. Out of these two alkyl groups, which forms halide and which forms alcohol, how to predict? In case of unsymmetrical ethers, the alkyl group, which is smaller primary or secondary alkyl group. Among the two alkyl groups, for example, if both are primary, which is smaller, that forms halide. If both are secondary, which is smaller, that forms halide. Suppose one is primary, one is secondary. Primary can form halide. Means simply, among if the alkyl R and R dash are primary or secondary, out of these two, which is smaller, that forms a halide. This is larger. Larger primary or secondary group can form alcohol. This is one. Suppose if a tertiary group is present in a given compound. So here this reaction takes place by SN2 mechanism. By SN2 mechanism, the reaction takes place. Smaller primary or secondary alkyl group can form haloalkane. Larger secondary primary or secondary alkyl group can form alcohol. Suppose if the given compound contains a tertiary or benzyl or aryl, tertiary or benzyl or allyl, if the group is present like this, tertiary, benzyl or allyl groups present, and another one is either a primary or secondary alkyl group, then this tertiary or benzyl or allylic carbon can form haloalkane by SN1 mechanism. I'll give examples. So this is a very important one. So many times they are asked questions based on this in objective examination. By giving an ether, they will ask what are the products formed when it allowed to react with cold HI. Then how to predict the products? Smaller primary or secondary alkyl group, tertiary or benzyl or allyl groups are present, then this forms haloalkane and other group can form alcohol. Okay. Now, if aryl group is present, for example, if a aryl group is present, then what the aryl group is present irrespective of the nature of the other group. If the given compound contains aryl group, that aryl group can give phenol. Fixed this is. Irrespective of the nature of the other group, if the given ether contains aryl group attached to oxygen, means aromatic group attached to oxygen, there is benzene ring simply. That means if the given compound contains this type of structure, irrespective of the nature of this alkyl group, the cleavage of this bond takes place and we can get phenol as the product. So this is the conditions. So I'll give examples one by one. See here. If the given is a symmetrical ether, then we can get 1 mole of haloalkane and 1 mole of alcohol. If given is unsymmetrical ether, then also we will get 1 mole of haloalkane and 1 mole of alcohol. Then among the two alkyl groups, which alkyl group can form haloalkane, which alkyl group can form alcohol, that we should decide. That is important here. So if a primary or secondary alkyl groups are present, among the two, which is a smaller primary or secondary alkyl group, that a smaller primary or secondary alkyl group can form haloalkane. The larger alkyl group can form alcohol. This is first case. Second case, if the given ether contains either tertiary alkyl group or benzyl group or allyl group, then that a tertiary or benzyl or allyl group can form the corresponding haloalkane by SN1 mechanism. Why? Because tertiary, benzyl and allyl carbocations are more stable. Suppose in the reaction they form a stable carbocation as intermediate, and that stable carbocation can give the product by SN1 mechanism. So overall, primary or secondary alkyl groups are present, the reaction takes place according to SN2 mechanism. Tertiary or benzyl or allyl groups are present, the reaction takes place according to SN1 mechanism, and these groups can form haloalkanes. The remaining group can form alcohols. So just remember, smaller primary or secondary alkyl group or tertiary or benzyl or allyl groups are present. These groups can form haloalkane. The remaining group can form alcohol or phenol if it is aryl group. Okay, right. So remember this condition. So based on this condition, we will write some examples here now. Yes, I'll write here. CH3OC2H5. If this is allowed to react with HI, what is the product formed? Which is small here? Methyl. This is ethyl. Both are primary. Smaller alkyl group can form haloalkane. So product should be methyl iodide plus ethyl alcohol, CH5OH. Suppose if the given compound is like this, C2H5 OCH CH3 CH3, ethyl isopropyl ether is there. When it is allowed to react with hydrogen iodide, then what is the product? So this is primary group, this is secondary alkyl group. So primary alkyl group can form haloalkane. So we can get C2H5I plus isopropyl alcohol. Like this. Primary or secondary alkyl groups are there. Smaller group can form haloalkane. Larger groups can form alcohols. First case. Now come to the second case. If a given compound contains like this, CH3, 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 O, C2H5. If it is allowed to react with HI, now what is nature of alkyl groups? This is tertiary alkyl group, this is primary alkyl group. Now the tertiary alkyl group is present, so tertiary alkyl group can form haloalkane. So this tertiary alkyl group can form haloalkane, means it forms first a tertiary butyl carbocation, and that tertiary butyl carbocation can be attacked by I minus, and we can get a tertiary butyl iodide. Plus ethyl alcohol. So this is the product formed. Now let us take one more. CH3. If a methyl phenyl ether is there, if it is allowed to react with HI, what is the reaction product? See here, two possibilities are there. You may break this bond or this bond. Breaking of aryl oxygen bond is difficult. Why? Because if you take a aryl oxygen bond like this, O with the two lone pairs, this lone pair will be shifted to here, this pi electron will be gained by this, then the structure become like this. Double bond O plus, like this. That means due to the resonance effect of this lone pair in conjugation with the pi electrons of benzene ring, carbon oxygen bond of aryl group has partial double bond character. So breaking of this bond is difficult. Whereas alkyl oxygen bond has a single bond character only, we can break this bond easily. Since we can break this bond, this becomes as a C6H5O minus that combines with H plus and forms a phenol, C6H5OH plus. CH3 plus and I minus combine to form CH3I, like this. So this is the way of predicting the products. So when ethers are allowed to react with the cold HI, smaller primary or secondary alkyl group or tertiary or benzyl or allyl group can form haloalkane. The remaining groups can form either alcohols or phenols. If it is aromatic ethers compulsory forms phenol only, irrespective of the nature of the other alkyl group. Whether this may be primary, secondary, or tertiary, whatever it may be. If oxygen is bonded to aryl group, compulsory you can get aromatic compound phenols. This is regarding a reaction of ethers with HI. Overall, with concentrated HI, 1 mole of ether when react, we can get 2 moles of alkyl iodide or haloalkane. The same when cold HI, if it is allowed to react with ether, we can get 1 mole of alcohol and 1 mole of haloalkane. And this is the way of predicting the products. This is an important one. So many times they ask in examination. Right. So this is regarding the reactions involving OR bond. Alkyl oxygen bond. Now let us say another type of reactions. Aromatic electrophilic substitution. Right. Aromatic electrophilic substitution reactions. See here. So if you take ethers, aromatic ether, OCH3, nothing but methoxybenzene called as anisole. So here this oxygen can delocalize electrons towards benzene ring. As a result, so electron density will be increased at ortho position, double bond, OCH3. At the same time, if this is delocalized to here, this electrons is gained by this, then we can get resonance structure like this. That means this is known as plus R effect, positive resonance effect. So the alkoxy group present on the benzene ring acts as a plus R group, and it increases electron density on the benzene ring at ortho position as well as at para position. So the electrophile can attack easily at ortho and para position because electron density is more at these two positions. Okay, so in aromatic ethers, electrophilic substitution reaction takes place at ortho and para position. Because of the plus R effect of this alkyl group, electron density is increased at ortho as well as at para position. Now let us see some equations here. Anisole, nothing but a methoxybenzene, known as anisole. This is the common name for this, methoxybenzene. Let's see what are different cases now. In all the cases, we'll get the same type of products. When it is allowed to react with bromine in acetic acid, nothing but halogenation of anisole, methoxybenzene. So when anisole is allowed to react with the bromine in acetic acid, then the electrophilic substitution takes place at ortho and para positions. So this is OCH3 Br plus OCH3 Br. Just like nothing but in benzene, how the electrophilic substitution takes place, in the same way the substitution takes place here. Now this is, what is the name of this compound? This is orthobromoanisole. This is orthobromoanisole. Then what is the name of this compound? This is a parabromoanisole. Orthobromoanisole and parabromoanisole. anisole. So here, actually for a halogenation on benzene ring, we require a halogen carrier to produce a Br plus. But here, the reaction takes place even in the absence of halogen carrier. The reason is due to, because of the strong electron releasing effect of this alkoxy group. Because of the strong plus R effect of this alkoxy group, even in the absence of halogen carrier, nothing but Lewis acid, the halogenation takes place here. Okay, right. Second one, alkylation. So when anisole is allowed to react with methyl chloride in the presence of AlCl3, Lewis acid as a catalyst. First AlCl3 react with this CH3Cl and forms a CH3 plus and AlCl4 minus. So here the attacking reagent is CH3 plus electrophile. Now the CH3 plus substituted at ortho and para position, same like this. And what the products formed here is OCH3, CH3 plus same type of products will get in all the cases. OCH3 and CH3. Ortho and para derivatives are formed. See, in these ortho and para, which is major? Always para is major. This is formed as the major product. Para is the major product and this ortho is the minor product. Ortho is minor and para is major. Now, what is the name of this compound? This is named as the derivative of toluene. This is orthomethoxytoluene. This is a para-methoxytoluene. So this is orthomethoxytoluene. This is para-methoxytoluene. Orthomethoxytoluene and para-methoxytoluene will be formed as the products. This is nothing but Friedel-Crafts alkylation. Now let us see one more. Friedel-Crafts acylation. Same, we will take CH3COCl, acetyl chloride, in the presence of AlCl3. So when methoxybenzene is allowed to react with acetyl chloride in the presence of AlCl3, first releases a CH3CO plus electrophile. And that CH3CO plus electrophile attack the benzene ring at ortho and para position. Then the product formed here is, this is OCH3 and COCH3 plus so is OCH3 and at para position COCH3. So these are the products what are formed here. Now let us see. What is the name of this compound? Here among methoxy and carbonyl group, keto group is the principal functional group. So this is named as the derivative of this compound. C6H5COCH3 known as acetophenone. So this is orthomethoxy acetophenone. Orthomethoxy acetophenone, whereas this is para-methoxy acetophenone. Orthomethoxy acetophenone and para-methoxy acetophenone. And come to the last one. Nitration. For nitration, what we will use? The mixture of concentrated H2SO4 and HNO3 in a 1:1 ratio called as nitration mixture. Okay. So when anisole is allowed to react with nitration mixture, first these two will react and to produce a NO2 plus electrophile. That NO2 plus electrophile attack benzene ring at ortho and para position. Then the product formed here is OCH3 NO2 plus para derivative OCH3 and at para position NO2. Now just see the name of this compound. This is nothing but orthonitroanisole. R2-nitroanisole, either you can write orthonitroanisole, and this is para-nitroanisole. See, all these four position reactions are exactly same. What the difference here is, in first case Br plus electrophile, in second case this is ferryle cap methylation, CH3 plus electrophile, this is ferryle cap acylation, CH3CO plus is electrophile, this is nitration, NO2 plus is electrophile. In all the four cases the reaction takes place in the same manner. The electrophile attack at ortho position or para position. As a result, you can get ortho and para derivatives mixture. Among these two, para derivative is formed as the major product and ortho derivative is formed as the minor product. So methylation, alkylation, acylation, nitration. So this is regarding aromatic electrophilic substitution, means the substitution reaction that takes place in aromatic ethers. So this is regarding preparation as well as properties of ethers. 3 preparation methods and 2 types of properties are there. And regarding this chapter, alcohols, phenols and ethers, already the material was uploaded to you in WhatsApp. Just go through that, read the synopsis and all those perfectly, and then practice that level 1